continue. Okay, so we are recording. There'll be a recording of this because I have learned I tend to talk very fast. And when I talk fast, you might not understand or you might miss something, or I don't know. I think I just do it out of probably nerves more than anything else. But that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to do the talking. You're going to do the listening. I hope that you downloaded the document that I suggested. This might help as I talk. You might jot down some notes. You can always go back, and if you feel the need to listen to the recording of this, that might help as well. But I did prepare this document for the purpose of the lecture and that you could make important notes about this. So basically what we're working toward is a lesson plan. The lesson plan, there will be one lesson plan for pre-K and there will be one lesson plan for kindergarten. I'm going to say that again. You're going to do two different lesson plans. One is for kindergarten and one is for pre-K. I cannot tell you, I've done this for many years, and I cannot tell you the numbers of candidates that will come to me in the 9th hour and say, well, I only did one. I did one for pre-K, or I did one for kinder. Well, then you've just lost all the points for the other one that you didn't do. Do not fall into that category. If you need to right now, write down or circle under understanding the final assignments. You're doing a pre-K mini unit and you're doing a kindergarten mini unit. Now let me explain something about this lesson plan. And I think I've made comments about this. This is not your atypical TU lesson plan that you've been working on for 605 or 606, whatever class you're in this semester. This is a lesson plan template that you will use that is really one that was used in a kindergarten classroom or a pre-K classroom. So it's very school oriented. It's not Thomas University oriented in that it's not that lesson plan you're so familiar with. It is a 5-day lesson plan. Basically, it is a look into what you would do if you were a pre-K teacher, if you were a kindergarten teacher for 1 week of your life in that position. I want to know what happens at 8 o'clock and I want to know what happens at 3:30. In other words, I want to see the whole school day unfold. You will see when you look at the template, it's just that way. It's mapped out. You're planning 5 days for reading, 5 days for math, 5 days for whatever theme-related science or social studies area you are into. So understand that. It is not a one-day plan. It is not a one-day look at pre-K or kinder, but it is a 5-day lesson plan. And you are going to deal with a unit concept which begins with a theme. You have to select a theme, and that can be anything you derive as important in pre-K learning or in kinder learning. For instance, when I first started teaching kindergarten, we taught by themes. You know, we would have a week of weather. We would have a week of insects or spiders, or we would have a week of, we never did those together, by the way. It would be a week of spiders and a week of insects because they're not the same. And I'm just trying to give you some examples of themes. It could be welcome back to school. It could be see you later for the summer. It could be a Christmas theme, Thanksgiving theme, apples is a big thing. But nowadays, when you go into the pre-K and kinder classroom, well, not so much pre-K because they really are theme related, but a kindergarten classroom may not have the theme plastered all over the walls. I mean, for instance, when I taught back in the day, you knew when you walked in my room, my kids were working with insects because there was an insect center. There was a center where they would go over and look at the little insects under the microscope or whatever. There was evidence of a theme present that was reverberating all day long in either the centers, what we read, what we did. This day and time in kindergarten, the only time you may see a theme is when you're in the reading center, or not reading center, but in the reading classroom, and they're working on a story and it is dealing with a topic. And that topic is going to carry on for the 5 days they're in there, or ever how long that unit is. And the teacher may use that to jump off into science or social studies with, what have you. So a theme may not be something you're even used to teaching. You might like, well, Miss Neville, that's 20 years ago. But there is a reason to the madness, and that is that we're trying to be just as concrete as we can in these lesson plans. And you are planning a lesson that really removes yourself from curriculum. If you try, and this is going into the first section, important advice from your instructor. Number one, do not try to necessarily use your curriculum that you're teaching from in your present classroom. A lot of times this causes issues. So mark that down as something you want to stay away from. Number two, use the templates that are given in the drop boxes. In other words, don't try to go out and reinvent it. Don't try to do a different one. Don't try to email me and say, I'd like to use this one because it's better. I don't want to hear that. Just use the template that is provided and you will be fine. There won't be any question in your mind, am I doing the right thing? You will be doing the right thing. All right? So use the templates that are provided. Stay away from your present curriculum. Now, if you are doing perhaps a unit in your classroom, in your reading book on transportation, and you want to take that and apply that unit or that concept to your unit that you plan, I have no problem with that. That's not a problem. I'm just saying to take it verbatim from your curriculum that you're doing now probably will not work. But you could probably take parts of it maybe and apply it if you had to. So I'm going to say that. Number three, and probably most importantly, which you will hear me talk about this a lot, don't wait to the last minute. Don't wait to the 9th hour to start. You may say, well, I've got 15 assignments due before that's due. I'm not worried about that right now. Well, you may not be. But taking just a little time throughout each week leading up to the big week, you will find that you'll be in much better position 24 hours before it's due. Work a little on it. Go ahead and brainstorm. Come up with your ideas. Okay, for pre-K, I'm going to do this, but for kinder, I'm going to do this. Make a list. If it's just a list, make go-tos that you have spotted during this course. If there are things we've done or things we've talked about, things you've read about, and you're like, I'd like to apply that. Write that down on your list for this is what I want to pursue. Have a game plan in mind. Don't wait until 24 hours before these 2 lesson plans are due and slap something down there because it won't fly. It just will not work. The more details that you can provide that give me a visual of what you're doing in your classroom is most important. I want to see what you're doing. I want to see what your students are doing. I want to see that assessment. I want to know what is happening throughout that week of that lesson plan. And the only way you can do that is with details. You will notice in the examples that are given in week 15 or 16, if you'll go down to that part, if you have time, you'll notice that they are extremely detailed lesson plans. Okay? So make sure that your plan is reflective of a detailed lesson plan where you have really planned adequately for this assignment. And then there was one more thing, and it just slipped my mind, so I'll come back to it, I'm sure. But the main thing is taking the time to do it and be prepared to do it. And even just doing some early planning will help you when you get to that point. And I know what that point was. So there's one biggie with both of these lesson plans. There needs to be some reflective analysis done. Some type of project we've done, some type of topic we've talked about that you will see in your lesson plans. There will be something there that okay, she has connected this to the Family Connections event. That's where she's applying this, and I see the application. This is very important for your plan. Your plan should reflect what you have learned in the course and how you would apply it in your pre-K or kinder classroom. That was my final point on number 2. Moving on for number 3. The standard must be written out. Many people miss these points. These are easy points, people. Write the entire standard out, word by word. Use the number, use the use the format of the standard, but put the complete standard in the lesson plan. By not putting it in there, you're jeopardizing early points that will help you, that might pull you over. So do that. Make sure you do that. It should have the full standard number and the wording of the standard. Also, in this lesson plan, and I may come to this again, but I'm going to go ahead and mention this. Make sure that you have highlighted whether it is differentiation in, I believe it's red, and assessment is in green. Now let's talk about assessment for just a minute. I'm going to skip down to assessment. It's number 6. The assessment must be highlighted in green. Examples, you can use observation, of course, that is acceptable. That is an assessment. A checklist, student artifact, questioning, or an exit activity. All are signs of assessment, but you need to highlight it green, okay, in both plans. All right, let's talk about assessment for a minute. Technically, there should be some form of assessment. I am not suggesting it happen every day, but at least at some point when you've taught that reading unit, Friday, Thursday, Friday, there should be some type of assessment in your plan. Isn't that how you usually work in your classroom? Don't you work towards an assessment each week? Same thing for this one. And don't again, easy points just by highlighting red or green for differentiation or for assessment. Easy points, easy points. Going back up to the required lesson plan requirements, you need to have the standard written fully, the essential question of that lesson, and you need the I can. You need to have a essential question over that part of that lesson that is more than just a yes/no question. You need a firm, essential question over that lesson. You can also have an overriding essential question for the entire week, such as if one is on weather, how can I predict the weather? I'll just make that out. How can I predict the weather? Whatever it might be. But it needs to be, it can be an overriding question that guides the whole unit. But then if you're doing a reading lesson, you should have an EQ there. You should have your I can, you should have your standard there in that reading lesson on Monday, just like on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So it should be very complete. Let's talk a little bit about differentiation. The kind of differentiation that I am looking for in this lesson plan is I want to see what happens in your small groups. What is the number one thing I've told you throughout this course that I think you all could probably recite is that if you're doing pre-K or kinder without small group instruction, you might as well leave the building. Therefore, it is an expectation that you would have small groups planned in your lesson plan. I would go as far as to say this: showing me the rotation of the class and the topics and what you're trying to differentiate with those learners, just like you have a top group, you have you have the very top group that's above grade level, then you have the group that is on grade level, then you have your yellow group that's strategically concerning to you that you're trying to move to green, and then you have your red group. I should be able to see those groups for reading and math, and that's what I'm speaking of when I'm talking about differentiation. Now, if you tell me that in your reading group or in your reading whole group information, if you tell me that you're using a bigger chart because someone's got eye issues, that's fine. But that's really not what I'm looking for in this lesson plan. I want to see how you differentiate for your small groups in reading and math in pre-K and kinder. Many times, people will argue and say, well, in pre-K, we only had 2 groups. Well, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Because technically where I did most of my work in pre-K, they only had 2 groups. They had a group that had prior school experience, and they had a group that did not. That is totally sufficient in pre-K. That works well because usually a teacher is with one group and the para is with the other group, which means you have constant monitoring of students. You don't have students out there just in Never Never Land in a center alone, which could create great chaos in a pre-K environment. This way you have total management with both groups. Okay, so I would plan that way. In kinder, we all are familiar, or those of you I'm sure have either observed in kindergarten or are currently working in kindergarten. Pretty much, I think it's universal now that everyone is using the 4-group rotation during reading, 4-group rotation in math. If you're not familiar with that, all you have to do is go to the University of Florida. I believe it's I can't think of the website right now, but it's where it originated from, and it ended up in Georgia. And I think that's why most of our kindergarten and pre-K classes are doing this. But it was introduced to us in our school system where they came in and said, look, if you want to really strategically reach your students in these groups, you need to meet with them 20 minutes in 20-minute segments. I see some heads shaking. And this really changed the course in how we went after children that were really needy in areas of weakness for reading and for math. Because you have those groups pre-assigned, you know pretty much, and you read it from the data, and that's how you develop your groups. Is that not how anybody else does it? Is that how you do it? Raise your hand if you do it that way. If you're not doing it that way, you need to be doing it that way, because that's the only way to really zero in and find out where the weakness is and to attack it. Because I met with them 20 minutes. Every 20 minutes, I met with a different group. I met with the very highest, the next highest or whatever, all the way down to the lowest. So I want to see this in your lesson plan. Make sure it is reflective in your lesson plan, especially when it comes to differentiation. Again, if you're using differentiation with your whole group lesson, that's fine. You can make out those points, but that's not what I'm zeroing in on. I want to see 4-group rotations, especially in kinder, a two-group situation in pre-K. Write those notes down so you know specifically what I'm looking for. Okay? All right. Now, let me stop and ask anyone, do you have any questions? Any questions that's popped up?
So I have a question about when you were talking about the essential questions for each day. So we need a different essential question for every day, or can we have one if it's for transportation, the different types of transportation for those 5 days, it can stay
You
the
could
same?
you could have an overriding EQ question on the actual unit's topic. But when you come to that individual lesson in reading, I would need to see an EQ for that reading lesson. Let's say that day you were teaching sound recognition for D. I would need to see an EQ for that particular lesson. You see what I'm saying? So in reading, it might be that you're working on the letter sound all week long. That EQ would be the same, which is normally what happens. You're working on one skill a week usually. So, you could use that. You could repeat it as far as reading or as far as math is concerned. I have no problem with that. But I'm just saying, don't just stick one EQ up at the top and say, that's my EQ. No, that is your EQ. But what about that reading lesson you're doing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? Same thing can be said for Friday, and for the other as well. It just needs to be according to what the subject is as to if there needs to be a new EQ. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that question. Anybody else? Something that's just popped in your head? Everybody good? I guess. Good, good, good. Okay. All right, we'll move on. Now, where are we? So we see what we are required to have in there. And of course, if you needed an example, we just don't want a yes, no question for EQs. And I think you know that by now. You just don't want that. And then of course, differentiation, especially for that small group, needs to be highlighted in red. We need to see small groups throughout those reading and math lessons. And make sure, I will say this, you can have small groups in your science or social studies, but a lot of the times when I taught kindergarten, that was more or less whole group. By the time we got to social studies or science, it was whole group. We didn't have time to break down. It's hard enough breaking down and getting your reading in, much less your math. But the struggle's real when you start talking about social studies and science. This summer, I'm teaching the social studies course, and we're going to talk about how social studies gets just pushed off to the side. You're lucky if you can do one weekly reader a week on the subject of social studies. It just doesn't happen. All your time, if I'm seeing it correctly, in pre-K and kinder is dealing with reading and math. It's more or less that, because there is such a focus on that in far as where they are. Yes, Starla.
So we're doing like a total day, like you said, from 8 o'clock, like even putting in there when they go to
No,
um
I don't need to
when
know.
they go to recess and all that
No,
stuff.
no, I don't. You won't have any place to write that in. I don't need to see recess. There's also on one of them, I can't remember if it's the pre-K one or the kinder one, it'll say down there specials and what times, and all. You don't have to fill that in. Go ahead and write
Okay.
that down on your paper. I do not need to know when they go to specials. I don't need to know what day they go to specials. If they go to art Tuesday and Wednesday and Monday and Friday, they do something different. I don't need to know all that. You'll see it on there just because it is a real lesson plan from a real school setting, but it's not necessary to fill me in on that. You could even make up a imaginary date. In other words, if you wanted to do a unit on the first of school, you could do yours, in August. You know what I mean? Your lesson plan dates does not matter. Yes.
One more question I had. Did we just focus on reading and math, or did you need to include those other subjects?
Okay. The other thing I want to talk about, and I was going to see, it's usually in this. Let me see. I'm jumping around a little bit. Let's see what's on the other side here. Okay. We know we have to have a theme in both, but I want to mention something else here. You do need a theme, that is for sure. Let me see if it's on the other page. And I don't think it is. Okay, this is the deal. In pre-K, you are wide open. You can do health, you can do social studies, you can do science to center around your theme if you want to. That's perfectly acceptable. What I want to mention about kindergarten is something that a lot of people don't realize. But in kindergarten, it's either one or the other. For instance, there were certain weeks we did science, and there were certain weeks we did social studies. We are not doing them together. In other words, don't come up with some kind of great plan where you've got, oh, they're going to do science one day, and the next day they're going to do social studies. That is totally far-fetched and crazy. You're going to either decide, is it science for the week that's going to relate to the theme, or is it going to be a week of social studies? And a lot of that will be determined by what you choose as a topic. If you did weather, I would say the chances are you're going to probably, but you got to look and see, are there any weather standards in science? Are the weather standards over there in social studies? You'll have to determine where they are because you've got to have a standard to back up that particular topic, okay, that you choose that will align with a theme. I always expect the theme to align with whether or not what's going on in science and social studies. That's a great way to highlight it. It should show in everything you do. In other words, if you're doing, I'm just making this as an example, if you're doing since I've got weather on my mind today, if you're doing a unit on weather, for instance, let's say they had manipulatives that were little clouds and you were making them count them, it should be reflected in the math lesson. Or it should be reflected in the reading lesson. So you need to be mindful of that and in what you select as a theme. I've never really had somebody select a bad theme, honestly. Themes are always really easy to select, and they're very teachable in that you can align them with standards. The one theme that I know that you need to double check on, if you love plants and you're a plant person and you love to take children through the plant thing, you need to really study your kindergarten standards, because there is no standard in kindergarten for the Georgia standards is what I'm talking about, Georgia.org standards, that has to do with naming the parts of a plant. That's not done in kindergarten. Classifying is a real big topic in your science, really big. There's lots of classifying. There's lots of classifying rocks and dirt and soil and all kind of things like that. There's lots of classifying because you're trying to teach them how to sort, and it goes through that science. It's really pushed out. So be careful what you select. Like, well, I'm just going to do a theme on plants. Well, if you do, you've got to find out how you can do that according to what those science standards say. And I do check for alignment. So, if the activity is not lining up with the standard, then that's going to be problematic. So you want to make sure that they all are coinciding. But I would not expect you to have a week of science and social studies in kindergarten. I would expect you to select either it's going to be a week of science or a week of social studies. And you might want to write that down so you don't make that error. Because not everybody is from this grade level and may not be familiar. And another quick tip that I would mention, if you have the opportunity to go back and talk with the mentor teacher that teaches kindergarten or pre-K, if you can have a conversation about it leading up to planning your lesson plan, that is very helpful to people, especially if you're not from this area. I mean, we all understand each other completely. You either are a pre-K or a pre-K or kindergarten teacher, or you're not. You're either a fifth grade teacher or you're not. You know what I mean? Like, I would have no business in a fifth grade classroom. That would be foreign to me. My world is over here in pre-K and kinder. You might be the very opposite. You might be somebody that loves fifth grade and you love what you do every day. You love fourth grade. You love third grade. But you don't have any interest in kinder. So go and have a conversation with that mentor teacher in that grade level that you're trying to emulate in your lesson plan to really, really help you along the way if you struggle, which you probably won't. All right. Yes. So I think I've explained theme. Everybody understands we need a theme, right? Okay. And then you might jot down some theme ideas. And then you have your evidence of learning. What have you, we've done what is developmentally appropriate, the big learning center. We crushed that the first 4 weeks of the class. Bam, done. You have looked at family connections. We understand that in order to build relationships with children and families, we have to start with something like a meeting or some opportunity to have them come into your classroom to get to know you. We talked about that. You've done an assignment on that. We have, we kind of hit quite a bit with lecture and also with the activity of the social and emotional learning. We know that children more than ever now need help with social and emotional learning. If we are not reaching out and trying to help those students, we know we have problems. That's a great topic, by the way, thinking about something in those lines for a theme for the week. Social and emotional learning would be an excellent way to showcase what you've learned or what you've gained from the course. Let's see. We've talked, well, you're going to see in the next coming weeks, there's going to be a great emphasis on age, what is appropriate for ages, and anything from, what is appropriate for them in terms of what you're teaching them, but also their bodies in terms of how developed they are physically with gross motor and fine motor. Gross motor has to do more with our physical abilities, whereas fine motor is all in the hands. We need to, and many children go through school without any real fine motor development. All these are possible topics that you can touch on that will show reflection of what you've learned in the course. And that is very important. There is a reflection assignment, and the reflection assignment is where I ask you to go back and review what you have planned in the pre-K and the kindergarten lesson plan. It is one document, and it centers on both of those plans. In other words, you're not doing two different reflections, you're doing one, but with each prompt, you will answer it according to what the pre-K lesson plan had, and then you'll answer it according to what the kindergarten lesson plan had in it. This is kind of a way to sound off, if you will, state your reason why you did it, why you thought this would be successful. This is kind of the opportunity. You should explain the following: the choice of theme, why you chose it. You should, of course, talk about the selection of standards. Of course, how this influenced your planning of taking this course, how it maybe have made you more aware, or perhaps enlightened you, and then how you have grown as a teacher. And I do see so many of you talking about, it really opened my eyes, or I'm really taking a second look at this. And those are all good things to say. I'm not just talking about all saying positive. I mean, if you've had negative experience, you should attest to that. I don't want to make you not say that, but I'm just saying, what ways have you grown as a teacher, or do you think you have, or can you find a way to say, I've grown as a teacher through this course because it has enlightened me in this way. So those are all the prompts that you'll see when you see that reflection. But again, I'm not asking you to do two reflections per se. You're just going to answer the prompts for each of the grade levels represented. All right. And so that is a very, very, let's see what's on this last page. Media. Oh, and we'll go over the media. Of course, with everything you've done in here, you've always had to plan some type of media presentation, and this one is going to be a little different because this media presentation will be completed on the last Saturday we meet, and I believe it's April the 25th, if that holds right. And we will have everyone present out. You will present your slide or slides where you have answered the prompts for the media presentation. It is a condensed view of what I've just went through, if you will. You're going to answer it according to the pre-K plan, and then you're going to answer it according to the kinder plan. And it's usually 1 or 2 slides at the most. It's going to say something about share your standards. I don't want to see all 167 standards. Pick maybe the top 3 that you thought that were the most important for the week and share those out. Some people like to do a screenshot of the entire lesson plan and just do it like that and put it on the slide. That's up to you. It's not that I'm grading anybody on how many standards you have anyway. It's according to what you're teaching and how many standards you need. Usually in kindergarten and pre-K, we teach thousands of standards a day, and usually we teach them over and over. But for this assignment, for the media presentation, just give us top 3 that you thought that were most important in your planning. And it is basically where it's not a voiceover. You will basically share out your screen and walk us through it. You'll talk us through it. Now, I will tell you this. There's 17 of you in here, and so that's 17 people presenting out in just a short time span. So it's not going to be the most lengthiest presentation you've ever made. This is not a time to just go off and just keep us spellbound for 30 minutes. So, 5 to 7 minutes is about all the time you're going to have, because we're going to try to get in as many people as possible. Okay. And that is the last Saturday in April. And if I could say anything else about that, don't be out that day. Just don't, if you can at all help it. We know things happen, and you never know what's going to happen, but I would try to be present for that day, because that's an important day for you to present out, and it's the last one. So I would hope you would all be in class. All right. Now I'm going to stop again, and I'm going to ask that if you have any questions, I would like to hear what they are. Y'all have been very good.
What happens if we out that day?
I'm sorry.
Well, we're graded. I'm just gonna be honest, like that's literally the only day that I was gonna miss class.
Oh, bless you.
For my child. For my son.
Oh, bless you. Well, listen, we can work around that. Honestly, it can be worked around. If you need to be out, I've had people that had to be out that day due to other things, so it can be worked out.
But I don't miss nothing. I said I wasn't gonna miss no class, but that was.
Oh, well, it's okay. I mean, my goodness, if you haven't missed a class yet, I mean, if you missed the last one, I'm not gonna. We'll work at it. We'll work it out. I promise.
But okay, but I'll see how that goes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you being honest. Thank you. We can work around it. All right. Anybody else? Surely you got more questions than that.
I have a question.
Okay.
When it comes to the theme, do we need to choose a different theme for pre-K and
That's a good
kindergarten?
question. That is a great question. You can have the same theme for both. Some people like to just go one theme and do it for kinder and pre-K. That is fine. If you want two different themes, you can have that. There's no requirement there. That's up to you. Decision. Some themes work better in pre-K than they do in kinder. So I would not put that on you. There's nothing wrong though with having the same thing for both. That's just up to you. Good question. Did you get my email, Trelisa?
I'll check now.
Okay. Good deal. Anything else that's on your mind?
Is there I haven't looked all the way down, but is there an exemplar for
Yes.
this? Okay.
Yes, there are several what I would call very good lesson plans that I've shared out. I can't remember if it's in week 16 or 15. It's in one or the other. You're going to see it may be two from pre-K, two from kinder, and then you'll see a reflection. But there's several different ones to look at, and I would look at all of them. I just wouldn't look at one. Oh, and that brings up another point that I want to make with everyone. I'm all about giving you as much support as I can and providing as many answers to your questions as possible. But if you use your rubric, which is so important, go and study that rubric. If you use your notes from today, that's important. I think I even provide some videos that you can watch that will help you in your planning. And if you apply all that, plus the examples that I provide, you're going to do a great job, because this is what my point is to that. Don't just go, okay, well, I got to look at this and only this. Look at all of it, okay? Look at your rubric. Look at your examples. Don't just be one-sided. I think sometimes we get, well, let me look at this example. Okay, now I'm going to do it just like this example. Well, that's fine, but have you checked that rubric? Did you check to see what the rubric said? So use all of them as you work on the assignments. Don't just say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to use this and only this. Just be very mindful of the different support nets that are made available to help you do your very best job. And I will be honest with you, and I know you have a very difficult task in completing all the assignments for all the other classes you have, by starting ahead of the game and getting ahead of the game, you'll be better in the end. So if you do a little pre-planning now on this, you might find in the end you save yourself some heartache, because time is of the essence. That's why I like to do this now, to just set the tone, to let you know what's ahead, and then you can kind of start planning from that. Anything else? Any other questions?
Are you gonna talk about the 3 assignments that's due? Because the project based plan that's due Monday, we can't use that for this project that you talk about now.
No. Now I will say this. That's a very good question, Brianna. If you have planned a project-based learning lesson plan that you feel would be effective in your end of the year, of the end of the semester unit, like let's say you've done one for kinder and you want to apply that to your lesson plan that you plan, for the end. It is fine if you use you might say, okay, well, I'm going to take those it's 5 days, so you could take each day of the science or social studies, you could plug in that project-based learning lesson plan. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry. Say it. You saying we feel like we was effective
You
in?
could take the you asked about the project-based learning lesson plan. It's 5 days, right? That was 5 days.
Yes.
You had planned 5 days. Let's just say that it was on an area of science or social studies. You could take that plan and you could apply it in that area of science and social studies on that lesson plan for either pre-K or kinder, and it would be totally acceptable. Now, I would not want to see that plan take over the whole day. In other words, I would still expect to see the reading and the math, and then you came down to your science and social studies and you wanted to use parts of your plan from the project-based learning. That is not problematic at all. That's good. That's taking something that you have planned and using it, that you've taken from the course, and using it in the final lesson plan. There's nothing wrong with that. Does that make sense to everybody, what I'm saying? It's doable, but it would be determined on what your idea was for your plan. But it might be that might generate your theme. Does that make sense? Brianna, what is your theme going in with your plan, your project-based learning plan?
Well, as I was looking at the assignment, we don't have to do what you suggested for us, do you? I mean, do we?
Do what now?
We don't have to do what you suggested to us, correct?
No. You can do whatever
Oh,
you want to do for project-based learning. Let's say that your plan was on pollution. Your
mhm.
project-based lesson plan was on pollution for kindergarten. You could take it and have your kindergarten lesson plan would be, your theme would be pollution. And then every day you could use a day from that project-based learning plan you planned, but you would put it in where? Make it
Science.
science. Yeah. I mean, there would be a way to pull that off. There would be. Yes. That's good thinking. But at the same time, you would have things planned for what, reading and math, accordingly.
Oh yes. Yes, I
Yeah, it's
thought
good
about
thoughts.
that, but
Mhm.
I'm just trying to plan ahead.
Sure.
I got to send your email too, but I have to plan ahead.
Okay.
But thank
Okay.
you.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's a very good question.
Looking at that project-based lesson plan, at the bottom where the template, where you should use the template form provided, I can't click on it. Like it's there, but it's not linked.
Okay, so you can't get access to that plan.
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll fix that. So it's project based and it's not linked, or
Right.
it doesn't seem to be linked.
It doesn't seem to be linked on my end. Like you have the
Okay.
document, but it
Yeah.
just says the document.
Okay. All right. I'll go back in and recheck that. Thank you for letting me know, because I wouldn't have known otherwise. I appreciate those that let me know things, because sometimes I don't know. But I'll go back in and double check that and see what's going on. You should be able to download that plan template, is what I mean. And with that project-based learning lesson plan, there's a mention of inquiry-based standards there. That's just your science and social studies, okay? That's not anything I'm asking you to reach for, okay? You should have a variety of standards there for your lesson plan for the project base. All right, anything else? Does everybody understand? Everybody seems to be on the same page. Clear?
I think I have a quick question.
Go.
I was looking at the project-based learning as well, and I see links, but they're just taking us to Google. So you were just like setting us up like to what's provided in Google? Does that
I
make sense?
believe they should be linked to a something like that was project based. So that means to me those links aren't working. So
Okay.
I will double check those and see. All it was giving just ideas out there, suggestions, if you will, or different ways you could do learning, project-based learning.
Okay, because
Different
it looks like it just
examples.
puts the word in Google, for example, like
Okay.
collaborative, it just takes us to Google. So I was like,
Huh.
maybe that makes sense.
Okay. Well, I'll check that.
So yes, the only link that's not working is the for us to put in the template to do the actual lesson plan.
So that's not working.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I
But
just
you're
needed a
saying that
focus
those
page.
other links are working? Is that what you're saying, Brianna?
Well, no, you can click on it and it does take you to the Google pages.
Okay. Well, it surely shouldn't do that. So I'll double check those, definitely. Because I'm not sure what was going on with that. Sometimes links change or links dissolve. You know how that is too. That can be problematic.
Oh yeah, just take us to Google and you have
Mhm.
to scroll
Then
to
you
find.
would have
It
to
doesn't
type
take
it
us to,
in.
yeah, it doesn't take us to exactly what you want us to look
Right.
at. I know
Okay.
it's like resources for us, but it's not taking us to the exact resource you want us to look at for guidance.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's what it was set up for. So I'll go back and check that. Definitely.
I have another question, but it's not about the project-based learning, so I don't want to get off task about that first if other people had questions before I ask mine.
Okay. Anybody else got a project-based learning question? Pretty good with that?
I'm good
All
with
right.
it. Yes. So are you just going to send a, when you check it, because we're all getting the same thing as far as the Google, you're just going to send us once
I'll
it's
let you know.
corrected.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I will. I
Okay.
sure will.
Okay.
In fact, I'll do that immediately when I get out of here. I'll go in there and check that.
Okay.
Because I didn't know they weren't working. All right. Excuse me. It seems if you can ask your question now, Abigail.
Okay, so I have a question about the assignment that's due Monday, the learning disabilities in kindergarten.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
So we're taking three articles and writing about all three of them. Like,
You're gonna, I believe it said do a summary of each of those articles. Does it say summary?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You're gonna do a summary of the articles. I tell you what, hold on just a minute. Let me see if I can't pull up. Okay. It may take me a minute. Hang on. We'll look at it. Okay. Hang on.
Okay.
Hang on just a minute. Let me move there. Let's see. I don't want to go into that other there. Okay, let's see. Give me just a minute. Okay. All right, here we are in the module. And we're going to page down. And I'm not sure where that is. Let's see. Okay. Now, were you able, I'm just asking, were you able to see the examples that I left for you in there? Were those viewable? There are two examples in week 7 of 2 project-based learning lesson plans. Were you able to see that? Yes, I got a thumbs up. All right, so when we click on resources to review, you're telling me that when you click on this, it will not take you to the actual project-based learning. This is, I think, a blog. Is that what you're telling me, guys?
I didn't go through or go to it that way. I went straight from module and then I clicked the project-based lesson plan. And from there, where it says like active learning, there's a link, real world problems, there's a link. But I went to
Oh, okay.
that looks different.
Those probably need to be removed. I bet. So anyway, there are some, these are where I would go if you just want to see some different ideas for project-based learning. They're in that week 7. They're under resources to review. I think these were out, I guess, the week that we did the group project. You may have already viewed this. This may not help you, so I'm not sure, but I wanted to make that available. Now, let's go down to the actual project-based learning lesson plan, because I think that's where you are. Keep going. Let's see, that's week 6. Okay, so this right here, that's a group project. We don't want that. Let's keep going till we find out where it is. Now, this is just that's just an information page. Let's see, where is that at?
It's on the week 10.
How many? What week?
Week 10.
Week 10, that's why I'm not there yet. Okay, week 10, 9, and 10. Okay, here we go. This is what it looks like. That's what that is. Yeah, I just need to remove that, guys. That's why that's doing that. I didn't realize that, so I need to remove those. Yeah. Yes. Yes, this is right. So if I pull up, let's see if I can see the.
See right there at the bottom. That's
Yeah.
what we can't.
Yeah. That you can't get this, can you? No.
Nope.
You know
we
why?
can't.
No. That's because it hasn't been linked. Ha ha. So those things happen. Thank you for telling me. Y'all should have reached out before now. Yeah, that's just all that is that it hasn't been linked. So I will link it immediately, and I'll get that up for you. Well, I hate that's like that. Dang, I didn't even realize that. I wonder if I could do it right now in class. Hang on, guys. Let's see if we can do it. Yep, that's what that is right there. Unfortunately, it was not linked. That just got by me. Hang on just a minute. Let's see, where's this at? Here it is in here. There it is right there. Just take it right there. Oh, I bet it's not going to let me do it here. Nope, can't do it here. I have to do it after class. I'll do it though. Yes, thank you so much for letting me know. Wow. That would have been terrible. Okay. So I definitely want to get that link to you guys so you can see the actual template. That is good. Now, you had a question about the paper. So let's take a look at that. And you could help me with what week that is in. Is that in week 10 also? The kindergarten paper?
I think that's in week 9. We can't see week 10.
Okay.
Right
Yeah,
there with the
I was about to
scholarly
ask.
writing
I was like, I can't
article.
see week 10, but I
There you
think it's
go.
in-
There you go. It's in week
Yeah, you
9.
just passed it, I think.
Okay. This is it right here. Okay, 9. Okay, and we have the
It's the scholar.
Yeah, it was in week 8,
Eight.
You
the
gotta go up. You
scholarly
gotta keep going up.
article.
week 8.
Right
Yep, there
there.
it is right there. Gotcha. Okay, thank you, ladies. All right, now let's talk about this. So for this activity, you are going to find 3 peer-reviewed educational journal articles that you select that is on diagnosing and supporting kindergarten students who exhibit characteristics in dyslexia. All right, so you decide the articles you want to use, and that's the first step. And I give some suggestions where you could go and find them, and it has to be in APA format. You're going to have a title page. You're going to have an introduction. Your introduction is going to be along the lines of why kindergarten teachers must be informed about learning disabilities, the importance of early identification, and the impact of early intervention on long-term reading success. Should be established the need for the knowledge in diagnosing and supporting students with dyslexic characteristics, because we find a lot of our children come to us with these types of situations, and we need to be ready to help them. You're going to do an in-depth summary of 3 scholarly articles. So once you find those articles, you're going to summarize each of them in a section called Summary of Scholarly Articles, if you will. And this is what you need to have. You need to have, identify the authors, the publication, describe the purpose of the study, summarize the result or the research design, explain key findings, highlight conclusions, and summarize. Your summary should demonstrate comprehension, not simply restate the abstract, but just, if you need to use in-text citations, you can. And then the next section is called Implementation of Strategies. So from those 3 articles that you've read, there's something in there that you're going to take from that article and say, I'd like to apply this to my classroom. Okay, it might be that, early intervention needs to happen using universal screeners. I mean, I don't know, there's all kind of things out there. But each article you select should have something in there that you're going to say, I'm going to use that. And so for each strategy, explain the strategy clearly, connect it directly to one or more of the articles. In other words, it's gonna relate to an article. In other words, you're not just pulling something out of your head and saying, okay, I'm going to do this, but it had nothing to do with any article you read. That's not what you want. You want it to connect to, I read this in this article and I would like to use this as a strategy in my classroom. Describe how you would implement it in a kindergarten or pre-K, well, it's really kindergarten classroom, and explain how it supports early identification or intervention. Your implementation section must be grounded in research and not personal opinion alone. In other words, don't interject your opinion here, but from the solid evidence that you've read, what could you take from that? What's one strategy you could take from Article 1, Article 2, and Article 3? And that's your implementation of strategies. And then you will have a conclusion, which, how will these strategies support kindergarten students exhibiting characteristics of dyslexia? How would early identification benefit parents? How might this research inform parent-teacher conferences? And how does research-based decision-making strengthen professional practice? And then it's just a summary of those concepts for your conclusion. And then you have a reference page, an APA reference page. Does that make sense? What you have to do?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. You're just, I'm all about like, how am I going to use this? Can I use this? Is this something I would do? Is this going to give me some kind of gain with my kids? But it is geared toward kindergarten. This is not geared toward pre-K. We are looking at kindergarten because that's where we begin to progress monitor. That's where we begin to diagnose. That's where we're looking at kids and saying, okay, Johnny here, we're well into March and Johnny still does not know his letters. He's not recognizing letters. He writes things backwards, or he is unable to recall what the letter is. We may have a problem here. How do you approach that with a parent? How do you approach that? How do you help that kid? What are some strategies here that you could find in these articles that would maybe help you in your classroom with your kids? Because we all face that. If you're in kindergarten, you do. And you face it in all the other grades as well. As well as I do. And it's not easy. It's not an easy task at all. Excellent questions. I'm going to stop the share. Is there anything else we can dive into that you're unclear of or that I could help? Wow. I've just wowed y'all and you have no questions at all.
Our brain is on overload.
I know you are. I'm sorry. I don't want to add to your stress. But I
I'm
think
sorry.
this is good. Do what now?
I don't know. I remember if it wasn't a word count on there. I don't recall.
There's not a word count. No.
Okay.
I don't
Well,
think there's a word count.
I hope I'm good
As
then.
long as you explain those summaries and you do the summary well and you explain your strategies and do a conclusion, you should be good.
All right. I believe. Thank you.
But yeah, I don't have a word count on it. No. All right. Anything else that we could dive into? So at this point, have we pretty much all finished our on-site observation work? Yes, pretty much everybody. All right. And I know pretty much everybody did their 4-week and 8-week observation. We did that. That's over with. You are very near the end of the lecture series. I think the last one is 11. So you should be on 10 this week and then 11. So it is coming to an end. That will no longer be a part of your weekly task. And really right now, you're going to see towards the end, as we get closer to the end, it'll really be the discussion board weekly that you'll have to do. And is that due tomorrow night? Is that the first time you're submitting is tomorrow night for week 9? Okay. So I'm assuming, I don't know, have you had the opportunity to go in and find that video in the teaching channel? Most people are shaking their heads. You could find it. Okay, good. If you get a little frustrated with it, just relax. You will find it. It is there. And then, so really what you'll be doing weekly in here as you get towards the end, it'll be that video discussion board. Completing that each week will probably be about the only thing, and then completing just those few remaining actual assignments. Now, I will also tell you, once you finish the kindergarten dyslexia paper, there are no more assignments. As far as anything else you have to do, the only thing is left are the end of the semester units, which are the 2 lesson plans and the reflections. So, and there might be just one thing where you have to go in and do the statement overall for the discussion board, but it does come down to where you're not handling so much. You've worked really hard, and I've enjoyed reading your work. It's been amazing, really has. One of the better groups I've worked with. So I commend you all for the outstanding work you've done this semester. Is there anything else I can help you with this afternoon? Otherwise, I'm not going to keep you here all afternoon. I'm going to cut it short. You all look like you need a break, and you've certainly held together very well. Is there anything else that I could help you with this afternoon?
Today is pie day, y'all. If y'all like pie, go get your free pie.
Yay. All right. I'm not going to hold you up anymore. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for being, oh, wait, just a minute. Before you leave, let me finish doing this because unfortunately I did not get to really check the roll. So I want to go back and make sure I have everyone counted here. If you'll just give me a few minutes to do that, because I don't want to miss anyone. I want everyone to be counted here. Let's see. Jones. Yeah, there you are. Livingston. There's Golden. Oh, Starla. Abigail. Kenya. Let's see. Yes, there you are. All right. And I apologize if you're here, but I just can't see your face. I don't know why it's maybe not showing everybody. It's Deshanta Johnson here. Deshanta. Okay, she is not here. Is that correct? I'm not counting her out, and she's here. So you're not speaking up. I don't hear her. Okay, and Ebony, I don't see Ebony. I knew she was going to be out. So she's not here. Okay. All right. So that concludes this wonderful day. And thank you again for coming to class. And I will see you back here on the 28th of April. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Email me and I'll be glad to answer them. Thank you so much. And you are dismissed.
March 28th.
Yes,
March 28th, the next class meeting, the 28th.
Bye.
Thank you so much, everybody.
All right. Right.
Brianna, did you have a question for me?
Oh no, I'll have to send you an email. I have
Okay.
I'm gonna send you an email. I have some family personal things
Well,
coming
I
up.
will tell you, for that day that you're out, for the last session, usually what I do for those that just have a reason that they have to be out for that session is I just ask you to do a voiceover recording of your media presentation. And as long as you submit that in the Dropbox, you're fine. I would have to count you out because you wouldn't be in class, but I would still allow you to send in the assignment.
Yeah, well, thank you. Like I said, I've been so far, I've been good with everything. I don't really miss class, but that's my when it comes to my son, it's
Yes,
not
I
crazy.
understand. I understand that. No
But I do
problem.
have to send you something personal.
Okay,
Mom,
you
I'll
do
send
that.
you an email about that. But other than
Okay.
that, I think so far I'm good. But when you send us I might reach back out about this. When you send us the template for the learning plan, because I'm looking
Okay.
at the exemplars that you have, but I
Mhm.
think that's for what we have coming up. It don't seem like it's for what we about to do for next week.
Actually, that if whatever those examples look like, that is what the lesson plan will look like.
For week 15 or for what we got to do for, let's do Monday, the 5 day, for the 5 day,
Okay,
project based learning,
when is the 5-day lesson plan due?
Monday the 23rd.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
that was a simpler show. Like it's breaking down for what I believe that we have to do for week 15.
Okay. I'm a little
If,
lost.
if you look,
Um,
it's like it breaks down everything, like what you was asking for, and I don't think that
oh
you would
yeah,
want
yeah,
to
yeah.
do
It
that
does. It
in
does
a
break
week.
down. Yeah. Yeah. It's a 5-day lesson plan. Those lesson plans, I don't know if they are showing a 5-day lesson plan or an 8-day lesson plan. They used to have to do 8 days. We dropped it back to 5 days for the project base. But let me show you the plan and then let me see what your questions are.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's the way to handle it. Because right now I can't really answer your questions because you don't know what the plan, you don't have a copy of the plan. So I'm going to go back in there and do that. And then you can ask me.
Okay. Like sending an email. You about to show right
Yeah.
now while we.
Yeah, I will get it up just as quick as I get off here. I'll put it up for you and I'll
Okay.
click it and where you can click it and see it. And then when you have questions about it, email me and I'll answer you.
All right. Thank you so much. And
You're
again,
so welcome.
I hope y'all enjoy your spring break and your time
Yes.
off.
Yes, I
The rest
know.
of your day.
You too, hon.
Thank you
Have a
so
great
much.
day.
You too.
Bye-bye. Hey, Miss
Okay.
Marilyn, what can I do for you? I can't hear you, love.
I was gonna ask you about. I know on one of my assignments it was saying I was missing it, but I know I posted it, but I don't know what happened with it when I posted because I remember doing it because I stayed up all night long doing it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, hold on just a minute. Let me pull and see.
Um,
Oh, okay. Hold on just a minute, darling. Let me get over here on my other computer. I can do it
yes,
quickly
ma'am.
here. Hang on just a minute. It may be that you posted it and it didn't come through. That does happen on occasion.
Uh-huh.
And what I can do is I can reopen it and let you send it again. So
Okay, because I did. I sent it, but I sent it through the comment because I knew
oh,
cause I went
gotcha.
back and because I went back in my files and I'm like I knew I had did it because it was in my files.
Hang on just a
And
minute. Hold on. Yeah, that's probably what happened, and I didn't see it. I bet I didn't see it, honey. I'm so sorry, but we'll get it straight. Hold on. And that was that what was that one called?
It was the 5 to 7 shift.
Oh yeah, 5 to 7 shift. Yes, ma'am. Hold on just a minute. Yeah, that was it. Okay, let's see. This was
because I did it early. I said, "Oh, I did that early," but I did it. But
yes. Okay.
it had late. It got late up there, but I remember doing it. I remember doing it, and I said, "Let me go to my."
Okay, so this came in. Let's see. This was due on the 9th.
On the 9th, and I did
Uh-huh.
it before the 9th, but
But you put it in here. Yes, you put it in here on the 12th. So
that's when you had graded it, and I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and send it because I went back to my file, and I'm like, I know I had did it because it was still, it was in my file. So I said, let me resend. But when I tried to resend it, it was already closed.
right.
And
Hey,
so that's
I will.
why I did it through the
Okay.
comment.
Okay. I will. I'll go back in and grade it, and I'll get it posted. And I can probably do that without you having to resubmit. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'll grade it for you. No problem. I didn't see it. I didn't look back in there, and I just missed it. Of course, I would have went ahead and graded it.
And in the anthology, I be trying to upload my stuff. I don't know what I be doing with that. Because
Okay.
you have to put in your hours, right?
Yes, you do. Now,
It-
what you need to do on that
yes,
is
ma'am.
there is let's see if we can find it. Hang on just a minute. Let me share this out for just a minute. And let's go back up in here to announcements.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go to announcements.
All right. Announcements. There is a video or a walkthrough
Or how to do it, yes.
on how to do it. And I strongly suggest you use that. Here it is, logging in hours in Anthology. Now, Dr. Morey did this, and it's how to log in your hours. And if you will go back into your announcements and find this,
yes, ma'am,
and watch that video, I think it will clear up your problems.
okay.
The main thing you have to remember about this assignment, the only way in is, and I'm gonna click on this, is the only way into Anthology is to go in through a course that you're taking that you have to submit assignments to. Well, in this course for EDU 626, we had to do that beginning placement form that you filled out.
Yes, ma'am.
That's really the only assignment in here for that course. So right here, you went in prior to class starting. You're a school employee, so you went right here. You're going to come down here to the bottom and click Load Field Placement Form, and it will directly log you into your Anthology. If you try to go to Anthology and log in like on a website, it will not let you log in.
Yes, ma'am.
So make sure you go this way when you go in.
And we should have how many in there now? About 4?
You need 4.
Okay. So
You
I just
need
need,
4.
I know I don't did 2. I need 2 more, I think.
You need 2 more. And don't you teach kindergarten?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
So you're using your own hours. You just write in what date you want to use.
Okay.
And you don't have to write up anything in Anthology. All you're doing is plugging in the date and the time, I guess. You know what I mean? That's all it is. It's a time sheet. It's not anything you don't have to write anything about the observation.
Okay.
And then, but I would go back into announcements. And I would find that announcement, and it's logging into Anthology. She did a special video just to teach people how to go in and do it.
Okay then. All right.
That should help you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're so welcome, and I'll get that graded for you soon, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Get off this share.
Okay.